Hello and welcome back to Marvel Puzzle Quest with me, P.I. McLeod, day 3708. Just not gonna stop. Even with all these blank days, yeah, I'm a little disappointed, but still, here we go, not stopping. Crashing Titans today, right? Right, because there's like two of them. It's one of those double days. You get two LTs for the price of 1 week. Sounds good to me. We got two of them sitting here. Looks like two different opponents this time. Thank you, developers. Really appreciate it. Okay, first up, going against 4-star Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman, she was one of the earlier 4-stars to MPQ, and when she came into the game, she had some, well, she still has some really expensive skills, but they were pretty darn useful. She was never considered meta or even really useful per se, but her skills weren't bad. It's just, they're so expensive, it's hard to even justify using her to allow that chance. Her red is very pricey. It does a good amount of damage. Then it does damage to the enemy team. I want to say like damage to the front guy in spades, and then the rest of the team. But then it gets a stun as well. I mean, there's a lot going on, but it's a lot of cost. So you're definitely using it to probably finish the fight. The black is, I remember specifically, it's called Seeking Redemption, and she puts out a countdown, and while it's out there, she just basically tanks for the party, and as long as she is tanking, she takes very little to almost nothing damage depending on the size of the attack coming in. It's pretty useful. It's not Shadow Step, but Shadow Step is limited to the amount of traps you put out. This thing sits there and just doesn't matter how long the enemy cascade is. As long as that countdown still exists, she is getting, well, no damage from that stuff. Well, very little, I should say. Finally, her purple is like, it basically puts out some trap tiles. It's a cheaper cost ability, well, compared to her other two. But if you choose Fear, she puts out 4 of these traps that they have to be matched by the enemy, not destroyed, matched. But each one does like a good amount of damage. And then if you choose Love instead, she can remove up to 6 enemy special tiles just by casting it. Just, yep, they're gone. There's some good stuff in there, but it's, like I said, it's all pricey compared to what anyone else could do nowadays. And it's just not very user-friendly because of that. There's no passives. There's no flash with her. If you're going to use her abilities, you'll get a lot of bang for your buck. It's just going to take a while to get there. Anyways, that's 4-star Spider-Woman in a nutshell. Let's get into it with Anti-Venom, Eddie Brock. Now, you might think Spider-Woman would have some web abilities. No, not at all. If you think that, it's probably because you don't know too much about her, and that's okay. I don't know everything about these guys, too. Spider-Woman doesn't have any web abilities whatsoever, and Anti-Venom kind of likes having a few webs on the board, so he's going to have to make his own to make this work. Anti-Venom is a web-based character that does damage by healing. So, yes, you heard me correctly. In other words, if your party is full health, he's not going to do too much. He can do a couple things, but nothing crazy. But if your party's losing, if you're like at half health or less, there's a lot of damage you could do because of all the health you're down. So we'll start off with the aggressive antibodies. It's kind of like, well, the main cornerstone of this character. The passive stating, whenever they heal an ally, Anti-Venom deals damage to the target equal to 100% of the amount healed. Obviously, the lower level equals lower amounts, but I like to have it at 5. It's kind of fun to like heal for 2,000, and thus you do 2,000 damage. You can see why that'd be awesome, right? The power itself says heals the team for a burst of health and creates 3 yellow web tiles. That's your team gets healed. So think about that. If you're healing 1390, as it shows on my screen, right? Healing 1390, and it hits all 3 of your characters, and they all used that healing. Well, that's 1390 times 3 with the damage being output due to this passive. So that's actually pretty darn awesome. In other words, like that at this number, it's about 4,200. I'm just rounding, but you get the point. It can be really fun. On top of that, there's Precision Purge, skipping down to the red. For 7 red, you destroy all your yellow and purple web tiles out there, and you give a chosen ally a pretty decent burst of health for 7 red. Then you get additional health for each tile that was destroyed. So if you have some yellow and purples out there, you can get some mighty good healing out there. Remember, the black passive still exists. So if you end up healing someone for like, I don't know, 8, 10,000, you're going to do that much damage back to the enemy. Finally, there's adaptive clothing. This is like the poor man's Kitty Pryde. And I mean 5-star Kitty Pryde, mind you. For 6 purple, I'm going to raise it to level 5 just so you can see what it could possibly do. You get a 1-turn purple repeater. Sound familiar? That removes any surrounding enemy special tiles. So not the whole board, just any surrounding ones. But if there are no enemy special tiles on the board, the tile destroys itself and deals damage. Otherwise, convert that tile to a web tile and create another purple repeater. In other words, you want to get these out as often as possible because this is how you're going to get webs, which is going to help your red out to get more healing, of course. Also, these things kind of move themselves around the board in order to try to find more tiles to get rid of. These things can help you clear the board of enemy stuff. But each one needs 6 purple, and it is a purple repeater that is not protected. It is not fortified, so it's very easy to get rid of. So that's kind of a sad point of it. Hence why I only have it at level 3. I don't rely on it. If I want someone to get rid of tiles like that, there's a lot of other characters that do it really well nowadays. Looking at you, Morbius, Doc Ock, Gore, even go back in time to 5-star Kitty Pryde, stuff like that. There's other ways nowadays. But, I mean, Anti-Venom is a support healer character, and having this little ability to remove more tiles is not a bad addition to the whole thing. In the end, I don't use Anti-Venom that often because he is the sort of character that only does good when you're behind the 8 ball. If you're behind in health, if you're losing the battle, that's when he shines. And that's not something I like to pride myself upon. To be quite fair, do you plan to be losing before you win? Just take those words in context, think about it as much as you need, and, move on. I don't personally plan to lose before I win. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to do some of that here. We're going to take as much damage as she dishes out, and that's going to be when we strike our hardest. Ready? Let's go. These 1-on-1 fights mean I have to turn on the character effects. Animations are a must. Let's go. Look at those hands. His hands are huge. Like, one of his hands can envelop her whole head. Okay, so we need purple, we need red, and we need black. So I see a red. Let's do it. I do not see a good thing. I don't see any good blacks, purples, reds. Not cool. The good thing is at least she can't get anything good either. Got a lucky black there at that point. So if I casted this right now, I would heal for 1390 and make some yellow webs. But I'm not missing 1390. So I really wouldn't be healing much, and it'd be very little damage output too. I'm thinking I'm just going to match this. Yep. Now remember that adaptive clothing, that purple? It's actually a good time to use it because there's no special tiles out there for him to eat. So it's just going to explode and, do damage. There you go. Adaptive clothing. Remember, it's going to do 5,000, almost 5,200 damage. Before we kill her, we will make sure to throw off the rest of the abilities so we can try to see all the animations at play. I guess I'll take this. no special tiles, so eats itself and does that. I'm waiting to take a bit more damage before I can really do anything else. So her red's going to cost 14. She needs one more hit of red before she can actually unload on me here. Take that phrasing whichever way you like. Okay. I'm basically just trying to wait to get hit by that red so that I can use this healing. Come on, bring on some red. Come on. Oh. I think she made some traps. And those are pretty painful traps too, if I remember correctly. Okay, here's her red. And her red's going to stun me for a minute? Oh, for 3 turns. That's going to suck, but I mean, we'll live through it. Don't worry. This way you can see some stuff too. Oh, God, that trap did a lot of damage. Ouch. So, I mean, that was a lot of damage I took in a little bit of time, but we've won the game now. So, here we go. I'm going to take this black. Heals the team for a burst of 1390 health and creates some webs. There you go. I did damage because of it. And now the red. Look at all that healing and all that damage in one hit. That's crazy. That's some good stuff. Like, that's an amazing amount of damage and healing at a 4-star level. But I had to take all that damage to have it even work like that. And that's the reason why Anti-Venom is not used often at all. Ready? We'll do it again. I guess this time against Quake. Quake walked into Marvel Puzzle Quest with one of the first, well, the only passive at the time that could mitigate team damage. Yeah, well, that'd be the right way of saying it. Her yellow basically says, excuse me, I'm thinking about the wording. If the enemy, us in this case, were to use any sort of team damage attack, she reduces the incoming damage by a certain amount for her and all her allies. It doesn't reduce single hitting attacks or attacks that hit randomly. It has to be team hits. So it sounds pretty niche, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that do that, and they're very popular to use. Looking at you, Omega Red and Immortal Hulk, and remember the Quandary event? Ugh, that was annoying with their team damage. There's a lot of ways that her ability comes in handy, and it's just really about preserving your team. I know defense usually doesn't win fights in MPQ, but at the same time, in Quake's case, sometimes it's a difference maker. A lot of these team-hitting people do damage turn after turn after turn, and if she can keep saving your team, why wouldn't you use that? Also, she's good at board shake. Her blue basically lets you pick a color, and it's for a pretty decently cheap price, too. I think it's like 7 or 8. You pick a color, and she gets rid of, I want to say like up to 7 or 8 tiles of that color that you chose off the board. Just destroys them straight out. Well, that's good cascade fuel, because now you know there's a lot less of one color on the board. Her green does something similar, but not so much. It's called Earthquake. Does team damage, which is ironic because of her yellow. And then also does a whole entire board shuffle. The whole board gets shuffled. The weird thing about Quake is, a little bit of FAQ here, her board shuffle due to her green Earthquake will never, ever never leave a cascade. Unless they change the ability and how it works, it doesn't even say that in the words. It's just when you use it, it'll shuffle the board and it never leaves a new match ready to make. It's always perfectly scrambled so that the next match has to be man-made. So it's kind of annoying. Unlike God Emperor Doom, 5-star who can shuffle the whole board and it can leave a cascade. Quake cannot. Anyways, on with the show. We're going to do the same thing here again, except I'm going to be healing Anti-Venom because, you know, we don't want Lucky Cascade to get the best of me. Let's get on in there. Quake needs to be taught a lesson, you know, not to mess with this sort of stuff. We need wood. This yellow goes into purple. And there we go. This won't be long before we win this one. It would be nice once Quake gets a blue or a green up, so then she hits us, does the damage, and then of course, you know, we could just lay into her then. Just give it a moment though. It's kind of silly, like, to beat these Crash of the Titans, the best strategy is to let them get the AP. So in this case, we have the green and the blue there. Up top, I'm going to let them match it. We want them to match it as best as possible. Unfortunately, I don't have too many other moves, so I'm just going to match this one to the side. Sorry, Quake. I'm going to leave them that green and that blue. I want them to take them. I guess I'll take this purple because then we can start doing our whole our purple shtick, which is actually kind of cheap if you think about it. It's only 6. It's really nice. It's funny, it seems like the sort of ability where you'd camouflage and maybe turn into the opponent, but it totally doesn't do that. We're gonna let her get that green. She doesn't seem to be wanting that green, does she? She destroyed the blue. That's kind of weird. That tells you the computer plays by random rules right there. That's not a smart move for if you're Quake. You need those blues. Okay, let's see her do her earthquake move now. Let's go. Come on. Boom. I like seeing all the animations. At least for these one-on-one fights. So now that we've suffered some damage, we're going to heal a little bit. Oh man, we need to heal some more, don't we? Oh, guess who I'm going to choose? I guess I'll choose that guy. Yep, that happened. Sorry, Quake. And the thing that sucks even more about Anti-Venom for this, it's funny I say this as I'm winning, right? But the problem is also that all his healing is burst healing. Like, maybe if he healed himself with true health, meaning not that green health, it'd be better because then you're not using health packs so much. But even though I just healed myself to full, if I went into another fight with him right now, he would be back where he was at the red level, not with the green health restored. It's quite a shame. Poor Anti-Venom. Anyways, that's 2 more legendary tokens for us. Sweet. And we're done. That was the Crash of the Titans for Anti-Venom. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you guys very, very soon, because I'm pretty soon there'll be another store and event for us to join in really, well, soon. Talk to you guys later. Good night.